Welcome to the episode 3 of Doing Sociology. In this episode, we are discussing a very important video which is viral recently, which is viral still today, which is of a vegetable seller from Azadpur Sabzi Mandi of Delhi. It is visibly seen in that video that the vegetable seller is undergoing through a very tough life. The video makes you feel cry. It is very saddening to watch that video. And we can see that visibly he is very poor. He is going through some tough circumstances of life. And we can directly say that it is poverty with which he is fighting with. Let us keep our values constant and become a sociologist and ask sociological questions. What is the measure of poverty? Malnutrition, starvation, or the Gini coefficient? Poverty, is it the same everywhere? We can see that he is a poor, but he is living in an urban area. Actually, not just urban area. If we divide areas, we can say that there is a Nagar Panchayat, there is a municipal council, there is a municipal corporation, and then we see there is a metropolitan city. Actually, from where I see, because I have stayed in Delhi, from where I see, Delhi is not just a metropolitan city. I say that Delhi is a Google city. Huge, huge, huge. The gigabits, gigabits, gigabits. The huge population in a very compact city. So now we know two poors: urban poor, rural poor. What kind of poverty to which he belongs to? Urban or rural? If we use the formula of subsistence wage, will it be equally applicable in for both poor in both area, rural area and urban area? What is impacting poverty? We know India is a welfare state. We also know the kind of rules: monarchy, autocracy, democracy. India is democracy. So why we can see from this video that the person is struggling for his daily meals. From sociological perspective, to which class he belongs? If we look from Marx angles, Marx and Engels, when they are discussing about class, he is from underclass or he is just from poverty class. What all exclusion this urban poverty is bringing to him? If he would have been staying in rural area, the same kind of exclusion would he have been experiencing? We know social exclusion means multiple deprivations. But the question is, this social exclusion in rural area versus in urban area, is it the same? The deprivation which is happening here, will it happen similarly in rural settings? The video or image, as a sociologist, we know that when it shows us something, it also hides something. What this video is hiding? His illness? Were he having some kind of short term or long term illness? We know recently we came out from lockdown, COVID. People are also experiencing long term COVID. If he is experiencing illness, do we have any data to compare his illness versus illness of people from other strata? If it is not his personal problem and it's a social problem, what kind of revival plan from economic angle could take birth from a sociologist's perspective? What kind of income security plans we could bring here? We know that there is a visible inequality in the Google city, which I called Delhi as Delhi, Noida, Faridabad, Gurgaon, or Bangalore, Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, Pune. I call these cities, they are not just metropolitan cities, they are not just mega cities. They are too many metropolitans in the same metropolitan. The entire structure of this city is changing. And I think that as a sociologist, we are not working hard on that particular area. We are seeing that classes are increasingly divided due to level of educational qualifications. And through video, we know that his son is also along with him. And looking at his age, we can understand that his son would have been small, a school going child. So when these ultra mega cities are having class difference because of educational qualification, how it is giving birth to a vicious cycle of problems, a vicious cycle of urban poverty, the urban poor. Are we having a separate formula, a separate sociological understanding to look into the problems of urban poor? We all have great plans, we all have working plans, and most of the plans actually are developed from rural poor perspective. While going through social media, I also witnessed that many people are writing, many people are having this idea that he is poor and he must be indulging in drinking. They are meaning alcohol drinking, gambling. Instead of looking at them in any another manner, I look at their statement from a sociological perspective. Are they alone to look at such people in such a manner? Even Marx created a word, lumpen proletariat, although he basically went on to define, which actually feels quite troublesome while reading such a definition of the word lumpen proletariat. The problem of rural poor versus urban poor, what are those problems, how they are common in their problems, and how they are different in their problems. This urban poverty brings expense of housing, basic sanitation, which would not have occurred in the case of rural poverty. Migrants, a new category. Whether we should call someone migrant or not within the same nation is a different thing. It would be a different sociological question. Something which is common between rural poor and urban poor is employment, food, healthcare, education. Something which is extraordinary important in the case of both poor is that they are politically powerless. Here we see that what Amartya Sen emphasized, that there are two Indias. He is missing the power of democracy. He missed the rural poor, missed the power of utilizing democracy due to people who were having land. Now in city, this urban poor is missing power because of organized classes in cities. We know the challenges of city for ourselves. What challenges are faced by urban poor, especially from gender perspective? Raise this question. How they are susceptible to several dangers. Their security is at threat because of a humble toilet. The basic sanitation facility is not available to them, then how it could be a bigger problem? How it will go on to contribute into the poverty? It will go on to contribute into the problem. Besides, Delhi has problem of clean air, ventilation, which is actually for each citizen. But when it comes to urban poor, it increased. They are living in slums or cluster where living conditions are questionable. So when we use the formula of relative poverty to understand rural poor versus urban poor, how we will look into it? The social exclusion, the multiple deprivations which poverty brings with it, is different for rural poor versus urban poor, because the kind of poverty which they are facing is different. So using the formula of relative poverty seems useful. What other poverty definitions we could bring here? Subsistence wage, is will it help us to look into the problems of urban poor? My personal feeling is that it will not. To enhance the definition of urban poor, we need to include things like he was living on rent. So, importantly, housing, education, basic sanitation, water facility, drinking water facility, his illness health facility, and what kind of financial plans we could have in place. I feel that as a sociologist, as a student of sociology, we have too much work to do in these Google cities. Not only in the case of urban poor, but from individual to family to administration to crimes to jobs to the leisure life to the elder care to child care, everything everything needs to be studied from a new perspective. Everything needs to be looked at with sociological perspective, whereby we have changed our frame of looking. Thank you very much for joining me in this discussion.